Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of The Hands That Feed Us on tour. I'm Devin Cook, and I'm driving across Canada to find romance, but not the kind you think. I'm looking for the romance, the big ideas, the ambition, and the sheer bloody-mindedness that can rebuild Canada's economy. I believe in these people. I believe in them because I believe that their romance, their vision and determination is the basis for economic wealth and prosperity. They believe in something none of us can see, and I believe that this podcast can help the rest of us see it. And who knows, maybe I'll find the other kind of romance on the way. Today, we meet Seann Dory, a farmer from Tsawwassen, BC, who fell in love with the romance of pulling radishes out of the ground, and who financed his first farm by providing tax breaks to parking lot owners. So yeah, Seann, I would love to get your self-introduction of what it is that you do and have done for the last, I'm going to say 20 years. I don't know exactly when you started.
Yeah, 20 years roughly. So basically I'm a farmer. That's what I do now. I guess the reason that I get invited sometimes to speak about stuff or come to events like this is because of things that I've done in that space. And I kind of came into that space rather accidentally. I was working in Vancouver in the downtown east side, doing nonprofit work for another organization, and that led to us starting an organization called Soul Food Street Farms, which is still in existence today, operates currently under the Canby Bridge. Folks from the downtown east side work on the farm, and the product gets sold in the community. I did that until about 2015, when I started my own farm called Salt Harrow. Originally started on Vancouver Island, now we're in Tsawwassen. During that journey, I was part of a team that created the Young Agrarians, which helps young farmers access, well, a community and land and events and all sorts of stuff. It's a great organization I have very little involvement in. I'm on the board of directors. I've been involved with the National Farmers Union, which was featured pretty heavily in that as well. So that's me.
Yeah, I want to ask you, I guess I have this idea about there being a little bit of a romance versus finance thing. And you said you fell into this kind of by accident. You weren't setting out to, you certainly weren't setting out like me to like, okay, I'm going to make a living as a farmer.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how that came to be. Tell me where the romance is in Soul Food Street Farms.
So I'm from Alberta originally. So I had kind of been peripherally around farming. My uncle was a grain farmer in Vegreville. My mom's family owns a large tractor dealership in Vermilion, Alberta. I worked on a cattle farm. My dad made me get a job working on a cattle farm for one of his friends when I was a teenager. So I had been peripherally kind of around it, not an actual farmer. I grew up in Edmonton. So I thought I would never get into farming because it didn't seem like anything that was attractive. But when we started Soul Food, I think when we started actually growing the food for market, those first few harvests kind of like, for me, it was like, oh my God, I found the thing. You look for the thing your whole life. Like, what am I going to do with my life? And when, I pulled those first radishes out of the ground, I was like, this is the thing. And I think that was part of the reason why it worked for the people that were from the community, is because it's kind of the same sort of feedback. I put in this little amount of work and the seed and the water, and we tend to it, and it comes back, and the reward is a great feeling. And you feel like you're doing something positive for the community. So, in that setting, it was quite positive, not only for me, but for the people that were working there. So,
so you told me about the romance and sort of the reward of picking up a radish and knowing that you've grown this and you're feeding people. Like, that's romantic.
Yes,
it's a thing that, and it's also very, very concrete and practical. But it is a reason to do it, and the reason is definitely not money, but the money is needed. And I don't know this story, but I'd imagine the money side of Soul Food Street Farms must have been a challenge. How did the money side work for that?
It took a long time just to get it kind of off the ground. The way we accessed the land was by providing tax breaks to parking lot owners, basically. so that they would give us the land to work on it. And then the financing came mostly from grants. It started with like Van City and places like that, Real Estate Foundation of BC, other nonprofits donating. Some backing, I guess, from United We Can, which was the nonprofit that it was like housed in or founded in. A lot of it for the first few years came from the sale of vegetables, actually. We started on a half acre, and then we were doing the Vancouver farmers markets and selling to restaurants. And I would say for a while it was maybe half and half. We also did a lot of like training, employment things with the government of BC, where we, funding to train people in a new skill. So, that kind of patchwork of funding is what made it kind of come together. But, plans, the best laid plans, right? So yeah, it was definitely a lot of struggle, trial, tribulation. Could it work? Would it work? I mean, it's been the same with most of the things that I've been involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. At some point you had to step away.
Yep.
And the next thing that you were doing was to start Salt Harrow. So I wonder if you would tell me what the vision, the dream, the romance of Salt Harrow was.
The original dream was actually a lot more like Clippers is today. It was a large-scale farm with a restaurant or store component to it. We started on the island. I got a little bit of financing based on reputation from a bank, like a very small amount, and had a friend that I went into partnership with, and we started a farm. That friendship and partnership ended at some point, and we ended up being primarily myself and my wife. We struggled just to get it off the ground. Got a piece of land with very little water on it. Had to pick a lot of rocks and dig and dig a pond and do all sorts of things to get it off the ground. But I think, the thing about that was that we had to rent a piece of land and hope that would be safe after putting all this like physical and financial investment into the land. And it turned out that wasn't the case. And we were like, we have to move. We have nowhere to go, and we have to look for a piece of land. So we started looking, and luckily there was some opportunities for me in Tsawwassen. The tenure was a little less strained, and those forces still were at play. We lost a piece of land here as well, so we had to significantly reduce our footprint. So now our farm is 2 employees, and me and my wife. So that's the current farm of Salt Harrow is.
Wow. I mean, you were talking about just getting started and
Yep.
going to the bank and getting a very, very small loan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious how that conversation with the bank went, because there's several farmers that told me, banks they just won't lend you for a farm business. How did you convince them to give you even a small loan?
So luckily I had a really great relationship with the bank already because of Soul Food. And because of the work that I had done with the Young Agrarians and the National Farmers Union, and my work kind of peripherally with Van City, they had started this small farmer fund. I can't remember what year that was, it was 2014, I guess they would have started it. And I think I was one of the test cases to see if this small farmer fund would work. So they gave me $75,000 based on my business plan and my reputation. That fund doesn't exist anymore, but it was the reason that the farm was able to start, because they had just started this local food fund. And I was lucky enough to be one of the first to get it.
There's this idea that you have to be bigger in order to make it.
Yep.
And you were bigger, and
Yep.
now you're smaller. And I guess I'm wondering what the difference is there.
I think we were always small, even at 30 acres. Like, to give it context, I think we were trying to get to 30 acres because at the time there was demand in the market. So we had 4 tractors and employees and equipment that we had bought, and we could do that. And so basically when we shrunk, we sold off the equipment to pay off the debt that came with that equipment, and then farmed on a smaller scale. But I think there's like 20 acres and under for vegetables, and then like to make it at wholesale, you have to be at least 25, but probably more like 50 to like thousands of acres to do wholesale because of the price per pound, basically. So what you're going to get wholesale and what you're going to get to sell at market, that dictates scale. And there's like this huge gap to where you can wholesale and make that work, because what you're going to get per pound sold is so much less. think the part that resonated with me the most is it was kind of like, yeah, we're doing this because it's romantic, but like here's like what's actually going on. The impossibility of making it work is like, I think, true across the board. Like that kind of resonated with me. I love the fact that the film mentioned the romance, because that is why we do it, but outside of the sweat and the blood that is normally associated, there was like some realism there that I really liked. Like even like some of the food documentaries that deal with the large scale issues are quite romantic when it comes to the farming part, and I really like.
For me, there is a real irony, because I set out to make a film that absolutely did not show the romance. I did not want that to be the theme of my film. I wanted to show what was real.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would love to keep talking. We don't have enough time. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing. You know, it's a little bit of a vulnerable thing. And yeah, I hope you'll all follow me as I travel across Canada next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. This year. It's no longer next year.
As you can tell from this episode, I'm a big believer in romance. But romance needs to be financed, and the financiers shouldn't call the shots. Throughout my tour, I've been on the lookout for ways to do finance better, and GoParity is one of the ways that I've found. Loans are inevitable in farming, and GoParity is a way of letting community members come together to raise the capital good businesses need. So the people who help a business succeed are also the ones who benefit from it. I think loans go better when the money comes from people who already know their farmers, and GoParity makes that possible. Thanks for listening to the Hands That Feed Us on tour. My goal for the tour is to host 250 discussions in rural agricultural communities across Canada. That's one every weekday. The tour is possible because of word of mouth. My offer is this: if you have a barn or a basement anywhere in Canada, I will personally come to your community, host a screening of my documentary, The Hands That Feed Us, and facilitate a discussion. All you have to do is invite your friends and neighbors. If you know someone who might want to bring my tour to town, send them a link to this episode, or get them to sign up at thehandsthatfeedus.ca/host. There's a link in the episode description. Up next week, I'll be in Agassiz, BC, talking to a dairy farmer about the challenges of farm succession. See you then, and thanks for listening.